Conditional Protection, Mr. Abdurauf Konde, Regional Director for the Bureau of West and Central Africa. I think these are the only three people that haven't met everybody here before now. On our own side, there is our Vice Chairman, Mr. Farouk Gumel, and the Head of Strategic Partnerships, whose brainchild this is, Ms. Habiba Suleiman.
So in Nigeria, globally we have around 120 million people who are forcibly displaced, and there are 3% of that who are Nigerians. Most of them are internally displaced within the country, and we have between 300,000 to 400,000 living in the neighboring Lake Chad Basin areas. That's a huge number of displaced communities. And for the past few years, for the past few decades, they've been living off handouts, humanitarian support that they have been receiving for decades. And the numbers have been slowly growing. There are now around 3.7, 3.8 million displaced communities who are Nigerians. We need to reverse that trend. We need to find solutions for these communities, and we need those solutions now.
The food and agriculture business in Nigeria, our key raw material is obviously from the farmlands. Because we operate in most parts of rural Nigeria, we have to work with the people from those communities, and we're seeing an increase in the number of displaced persons in some of the areas that we work with. So what we hope to get out of this is to find some of those displaced communities in the areas that we operate, get them to move into the productive sector so that they can start to supply our factories with the necessary raw materials we need to produce food for Nigerian consumers. You know, there are different types of displaced persons. Some of them live in the communities, some of them are in camps. But our plan has always been, we run a very strong outgrower model where we go and register the people, get access to land for them, provide them with the inputs on a loan basis, provide them with technical vocational services to know how to run and manage those farms, and at harvest we give them a guaranteed offtake agreement.
This partnership brings in the government, it brings in TGI as a company that is an expert in agribusiness, and we come in as an agency dealing with forcibly displaced communities. Together, as a whole of society approach, we are finding solutions for communities. So we bring them back to farmlands, we teach them what they can grow to make profits quickly, how to make sustainable programs run. TGI picks up from that, and these communities are back on their feet very, very quickly. This is something that we want to export around the whole country. With that, we have protection services, we have documentation, we look out for communities that are particularly vulnerable who need a bit of assistance to get back on their feet, and that's what we would bring. But this would be under the leadership of the government that is also keen on finding solutions. It is in line with the Sustainable Development Goals. It is in line with the President's Renewed Hope agenda that calls for employment, that calls for food security, which we are trying to address right now. So this is a more comprehensive approach in finding solutions for displaced communities across the country.
Our work has always intersected with displaced communities. Smallholder communities where we work also include displaced persons, refugees, that are also hosted by those communities. But really, I think what changes this time around is that it's a deliberate intervention towards making them sustainable. So as against the handouts and the giveaways that usually happen this time around, what we're trying to do is to plug them into our business model. So we'll actively engage them in productivity. We'll give them access to agri-input financing. They'll be trained, and we'll also guarantee market linkages for everything that they produce. So what we hope to do is we want to ensure that people that have been forcibly displaced by climate change issues, by conflict, by crisis, have a sustainable lifeline. So we want them to be self-sufficient, to grow, to produce, to earn a living for themselves. But what we intend to do is we intend to ensure that all key stakeholders are onboarded, are brought into the picture. So state governments will be actively engaged. And the plan is every community where they've been displaced into are places where we will actively go and engage and say, look, work needs to start happening.